is a locked hands piano technique, and it's how Oscar Peterson makes his hands sound like a saxophone section. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, most of Oscar Peterson's playing is completely out of reach for me. I mean, he's a beast. But even so, I've been transcribing his recordings for years, looking for anything that I can get my hands around. Today, I'm going to break down these locked hands piano techniques, starting with the simplest version, and by the time we get to the end, you'll be able to hear exactly how Oscar Peterson switches between all three of these ideas, sometimes even from one phrase to the next. I promise you, you will never listen to this recording the same way again. We're looking at my transcription of the tune Softly as in a Morning Sunrise by Oscar Peterson Trio. This was from a live recording in Bremen in 1964, and it kind of starts like this. Oh, my hands are kind of stiff today. It's cold outside. So the thing to notice about Oscar right away is that his hands are being different instruments, right? The right hand is being the melody, and his left hand is being the chords underneath it. Now, Oscar plays like this all the time with his left hand comping behind his right hand melody. But if this is all that we do, we miss out on a big opportunity to create a kind of fresh texture in our playing. And that's what Oscar does when he gets into the B section of this tune. Because as this goes on for a little while, and Oscar gets over to the B section here on page 2, right here, measure 16, the texture completely changes. You see how this is a completely different sound. Our hands are no longer being separate instruments. Both hands are kind of being that sax section. Now, this technique is technically tricky. So as a first step, we're going to start with something kind of simpler, which is just to play the melody in octaves together. So if we take this melody here in bar 16, we're going to double that in our left hand, so they're an octave apart. Now, of course, Oscar doesn't just play these octaves, he's going to fill them in with more notes and interesting voicings. And he's going to choose voicings that come from his influences, 25 years worth of jazz history. So if we want to get a little bit of this style into our own playing, we've got to understand those influences first. Every Friday afternoon, we have a free jazz masterclass on Zoom. And each month, I have a guest instructor that comes in to join us for one of those workshops. We've had people like Joe Alterman, Dave Frank, Charles Cornell, and upcoming we have Noah Kelman, Amy Nolte, John Prue. As a paying member at Jazz Library, you get access to the full archive of all of those past workshops, but you can always just come hang out with us on Friday afternoons live for free. On March 27th, we have Theron Brown coming. He's going to come do a masterclass with us on blues soloing. If you'd like to come to that, I would love to have you, but you need to reserve a spot. Down in the pinned comment of this video is a link to RSVP. This tune that we're playing, Softly as in a Morning Sunrise, is in the key of C minor. But when we get into this B section, we're moving into the parallel major key. So we're moving into the key of E flat major. Now there's this old-timey piano technique from a guy named Milt Buckner, and it was called block chords. And this idea was later popularized by George Shearing in the 1920s and 1930s. And these block chords are a great way to fill in our hollow octaves. So what George Shearing or Milt Buckner would do is he would take this octave, he'd play it between the hands. So his left hand is playing just this melody note, which is doubling what's on top of the right hand. And then in his right hand, he'd fill in a bunch of other notes in between. So if he were playing E flat major, he might fill it in like this. This is called a closed position voicing because he's put all of the notes of the chords as close together as he can. He's restricted us within this octave where the melody is doubled, and then he's just filled in other notes from the chord here. So this is like an E flat 6 chord. And he could play all kinds of melodies this way. Whenever he wanted to play a melody note that was not part of that chord, he would just use a diminished chord that had that melody note in it. So like, this is like an F diminished chord, and then the E flat. And by alternating those two things together, you get this classic George Shearing sound. So if we open up this transcription of Oscar playing, when we get over here to bar page 2, bar 16, we have this pickup bar into the B section, right? And if you look at it, you can see this is exactly the technique that Oscar is using here. Look, the top note of his right hand and his left note are just octaves apart from each other, just like we practiced. So he takes this octave on the F minor chord and he fills it in with a closed position F minor 7 voicing. So he's got A flat, C, and E flat. That's just the plain old notes of F minor 7. When he moves the melody up to the note to the G, he leaves the inside notes the same, still A flat, C, and E flat. He's just moved the outside notes to be the melody. When we get here to B flat 7, again, he's got the melody note on the outside, and he's filled it in with all of the notes of B flat 7. And then look at this one, the A natural in the melody. This is the non-chord tone, right? So he's using a diminished. And then back on measure 17, he lands it here on E flat major with the B flat in the melody. So there you can hear it, George Shearing's influence on Oscar right here in this particular measure. But this is kind of a 1930s, maybe 1940s, maybe even 1950s sound. But Oscar builds on top of that to be a little bit more modern. So let's put the chart aside for a second, just come back here to E flat. What Oscar and other artists of his time would do, they kind of stole this idea from big band horn arrangers. So what they did is they gave up the idea that the top note and the bottom note had to be the same. Instead, what they do is they took this closed position voicing, they took the alto note, the second note from the top. So here on E flat, our second note from the top is C. They removed this C and they changed the bass note to be that C. This is totally the kind of sound that we would hear from Duke Ellington's saxophone section or Ella Fitzgerald. It's a much more open, more modern version of those George Shearing block chord ideas. So if we come back to our transcription here and we look at the next page, page 3, right here at the top, we have this C7 chord. Look at what this is, right? So our George Shearing block chord version would have been this, with the E's doubled and the notes filled in. But he's taken the C and he's put it on the bottom. And then as the melody goes up, he's gonna bring it up using drop 2 chords. Again, also using the drop 2 version of those diminished chords when the melody note is a non-chord tone. So here, C7, then our next one, there's a diminished, right? There's a B diminished chord. The D taken out and put on the bottom. Then this one, that's another C7. Take the E out, put it on the bottom. Here, there's your B diminished again. Took the F out and put it down here. And then C7 again. Now, Oscar uses these drop 2 voicings all the time, but he's got another way to play with locked hands, which is even more modern and bluesy. Sometimes when we see people play these block chords or these drop 2s, we say that they're wearing handcuffs because the hands are literally moving together as if they were attached, right? Our hands almost stay together as if they're handcuffed together. But when Oscar's playing in a trio or in a solo setting, he wants to shout bigger than he could with just the sax section. And so that's where he takes a hint of an idea from Errol Garner and he makes it his own. Now, when we think about the playing of Errol Garner, we don't think about these handcuffs at all, right? We think about something completely different, something more like... Yes, this is what I get for putting in the script that I'm supposed to play you my best Errol Garner impression. What was I thinking? So Errol Garner is actually kind of close to what we've been talking about here, except that he's doing all of it with his right hand, right? So all of the melody here is being played in an octave in our right hand with those notes filled in. So what we were doing with both hands before is now being done with just Errol's right hand. And that frees up the left hand to go back to being another instrument. So we've kind of come full circle back to the beginning where our left hand is being the rhythm section and our right hand is being the instrument. So in Errol's case, he's strumming chords in his left hand and his right hand is being the instrument. I'm never writing this in the script again. So Oscar's going to take this sound from Errol Garner and he's going to combine it with what we know about locked hands. So he's going to have the block chord played entirely in his right hand with the octave melody, and his left hand is going to play those full chords. But instead of strumming in his left hand like Errol Garner did, he's going to bring the rhythm together so that the hands play at the same time. So we can see this in action here. If we look at bar 16, remember this is our George Shearing block chords. And then look what happens in his hands. He now switches to playing full chords in his left hand. And his right hand goes to octaves. Right, so we've got this E flat major 7 where he's playing this big E flat rootless voicing in his left hand. He's got the melody B flat in his right hand, and he's filled it in with an E flat on the inside. As we continue on the next page, we get this drop 2 thing that we saw earlier. And now look where we are again. Bar 21, look, he's got a full chord in his left hand and the melody in his right hand in octaves. And check it out here in bar 23. We have that drum flam thing. If you watched the last video I put out a couple weeks ago on Oscar Peterson, you know exactly what that is. So I'm going to play through this example one more time slowly, and I want to see if you can recognize all 3 of these sounds in what Oscar Peterson is playing. Okay, I'm going to do this a little bit slower than Oscar because I'm not Oscar. Starts out with his hands being different instruments, right? And look at this. There's those block chords, right? The big ones, the big band ones. All right, here's the George Shearing. And there's the big band block chords, right? And here's the drop 2s. More big band. Drum flam. I have a lot of work to do to get this style into my hands too. You can hear it. It's not perfect here. I will never fake my playing on this channel because I am not Giacomo Toro. So you need to get more variety in the styles, the colors, and the textures that you play if you want to be as interesting as Oscar Peterson. I've put other videos together that build on top of this, teaching you those left-hand voicings, how to work through George Shearing with melodies. If you want to see those kinds of things, there's a bunch of videos on this channel, including a couple that I've queued up for you right here. But most importantly, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. That'll keep YouTube sending you my future videos and of course, help me reach some new jazz nerds just like you and me.